Good evening. Here we're going to do just a brief overview of the differences between the XHDATA D-808 and the DIGITECH audio AR-1780. Basically, as you can see, there's some physical differences there. You can see on the XHDATA, which is a very attractive radio, I must add, the front panel layout, you'll notice that there's a on-off switch actually on the front panel to the right, but primarily the buttons do exactly the same as the DIGITECH audio. If we move over here to the DIGITECH audio, you'll basically see the button arrangement slightly smaller, and the placement of the power on off button is in a different area. Now, just to do a quick, if I just bring the radios together like that, you'll see that the actual XHDATA is slightly wider than the DIGITECH, and that explains that they've been able to put that on-off switch where they have. It's but apart from that, very similar. All the functions are the same, and as I said earlier, they basically do exactly the same. Now, the primary difference, I suppose, between the XHDATA and the DIGITECH is the XHDATA uses one lithium-ion rechargeable battery. You can just see there. It's the 18650 lithium-ion 3.7 volt battery, whereas the DIGITECH audio uses 4 AA batteries, and it's really sort of depends on your preferences, I suppose. The DIGITECH would be easier to keep batteries up to it, whereas you have to rely on an external charger to charge the single lithium-ion battery in the XHDATA. Now, just as a side here, there's been a lot of comments about the DIGITECH audio chewing through batteries when the receiver is actually off. I disagree. I don't have that problem whatsoever on mine. These 4 AA alkaline batteries have been in there for weeks, and it gets quite used a fair bit, and yeah, so perhaps the receiver in question has some form of fault. That's the only explanation I can give there. Now, on the XHDATA, you can see there's an external antenna, a rotary volume control, and a earphone jack there. You'll see on the DIGITECH, it's exactly the same. Rotating the DIGITECH around, oops, that's a great little effort there. It's sitting on the carry strap there. You'll see on the DIGITECH, you've got your fine tuning control, your external DC input there, and your main tuning, rotating the XHDATA around. Again, you've got your fine tuning, which doubles up as a squelch on FM, on airband, and you've got your input there from your charger for the lithium-ion battery there. Telescopic antenna is exactly the same, although this with a slightly different styling on the cabinets. You'll find that you've probably got a little bit more ability to rotate the antenna on the DIGITECH than you do on the XHDATA. but there's hardly any in it really. Now, from the standpoint of performance on long wave, here in Australia we can only get some of the aeronautical beacons, and they're identical in performance. Medium wave, they're both excellent performers on medium wave, and if you've seen my previous video on the AM broad daylight DX that I was able to receive today on the XHDATA, you'll notice that the performance for such a small radio is really quite outstanding. Shortwave, I think the XHDATA possibly has the edge. It's very, very slight edge on the DIGITECH. Very little in it, but yes, you could virtually say it has the edge, and as does FM. However, on FM, the audio quality is slightly better on the DIGITECH. There's a little bit more bass in the speaker, if you can get bass out of such a small speaker, whereas the XHDATA is certainly a bit more crisp in its audio. So very, very little difference. When you return the receiver on, you'll see on the XHDATA you have a blue display, very, very nicely lit, whereas if I turn the DIGITECH on, you have the standard yellow display. So it's really, I suppose, what your preference is. They have the displays show exactly the same information. So yeah, as I keep saying, there's very, very little in it. So just turn the radios off. There's plenty on the net to sort of show their performance. So there's probably no point going through that with this one. So, would I recommend these radios? Absolutely. These are superb small radios, and they offer terrific performance for the price. And there's no disappointment in them whatsoever. Can I recommend one over the other? Well, not really. I suppose the XHDATA, if at a pinch, might have slightly better performance than the DIGITECH, but by gee, it's so close it's not funny. And from a point of view of the aesthetics of the radio, I think I'd give the tick to the XHDATA. I like the look of it better, although the buttons on the DIGITECH audio are easier to to use and have more tactile response than on the XHDATA. So it really is your own personal preference, and I really can't sort of recommend one over the other. Both, if you were to buy either, you'd be equally impressed, I'd say. So there we go. There's a bit of a look at some of the primary differences between the two, and in the near future, I will do some some video on the reception, but we'll leave that to a later date. Well, I hope you've enjoyed tonight's video presentation, and look forward to doing another one. Cheers now.